Hello. Excuse my last minute camera adjustments. Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Please let me know in the chat if you can see my screen and hear me. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. I've got a random assortment of supplies here. We're just gonna play with them, and yeah, we're gonna make some art. We're gonna just have fun here. I was going to choose something for my World Watercolor Month sketchbooks, but gosh, I really just didn't want to feel like painting the same thing again 3 weeks in a row, like that I've already painted. So I'm like, I just play. I've got a bunch of new things that have been collecting dust that I want to play with. So it's so good to see everyone active in the chat this morning. This is wonderful. We have 62 people here right now. Hopefully, more will join. And we're just going to have some fun. And I'll zoom in as we get to making the art. But I grabbed these off the shelf. These are the color cubes from Sarah Renee Clark. I thought it might be fun just to draw a couple at random and see if there's a color scheme that we like. These, if you don't know what these are, I'll put a link in later. I forgot. I kind of last minute grabbed these. But they are they're kind of to help you pick colors. But I also did two courses where I just randomly chose the cards and we did paintings for them, the 30 days to better painting and 30 days to better watercolor. So they're kind of fun. They're just kind of a fun little creative guide. And I just felt like it's very stressful last week and a half or so. Somebody said there was a lunar eclipse and a full moon, and I'm sure that has something to do with this feeling of malaise. But um, just in general, I'm like, I need something fun. I need to just do something fun and also maybe make a run at that review pile that I've had going. So I think everybody can see and hear me. I'm hoping. I've just glanced at the chat and there's a lot of hellos. Just looking to see if there's any I can hear you, I can see you. Gosh, I hope so. Oh good. Okay. I have confirmation. So, this is really random. I just want you to grab the supplies on your shelf that you want to use more. You don't have to use what I'm using. Seriously, just go and find some stuff that's been sitting around that you wish you had time to use because this is your time, my friends. This is your time. I'm just going to push those out of the way for right now. And the thing I was kind of the most excited to use is this right here. It is, oh gosh, do I have my scissors handy? I swear I lose my scissors about 25 times a day. I should have them on a chain like they do at the bank, and that way they can't wander from my site too far. So this is brand new. It's from Paul Rubens, and it is a sketchbook that comes with a little watercolor set. Excuse the crinkles, although I saw a drawing channel out there, a painting channel, and it was no talking, no music, just ASMR. So maybe I should be quiet and just crinkle everything, and then the algorithm will love me. I don't know. Slide off this belly band. It says watercolor travel book. I think this is around $20. 24 sheets, 300 gram, and a bunch of stuff in Chinese. And oh my gosh. It's got the glitter paper. I don't know if that shows up on camera or not, but it's got the glitter watercolor paper, which I like. I've used it before from like in single sheets, loose sheets from Paul Rubens. And this appears to be more, it seems like it's more of a pad than a sketchbook. Like I feel like the pages would come out really easily. But this right here is a little watercolor set that comes with it, which I thought for the price of the sketchbook wasn't bad for cotton paper, but it comes with this tiny little watercolor set, which is, let's see on our grid here, it's about 3 inches by an inch and an eighth. So it is tiny. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And then there's room to clip it right here. So, I mean, that alone I thought would be worth doing on a live stream. I also have these pens. They're 4-in-1 gel ink pens, and there's some 18 different colors here. So I'm like, what the heck? Let's give these a try. See if we can get the package open. Maybe you got some markers that need some love. Grab those, grab some watercolors, grab some markers. They're really cute looking. Kind of like the Bic four color pens. So we got a bunch of colors there. This I tried to make one of these and it went horrendously wrong. So then I just ponied up the $15 and bought it. This is it's a palette I found on Amazon and it comes with a little thank you note. But look at this. I think the palette, because I was trying to make a palette that was too big. I think maybe that's why I cracked, but look at that watercolor palette. Isn't that adorable? It is, I'm just measuring it here. It's like little over 7 inches long by I would say a little over 3 inches wide at the widest part, maybe 3.5 inches. But I thought that was really cute. And then these, I have no idea. I have some water soluble oil pastels from Crayola that I really like. That's a set of 24, and this is a set of 48. And I thought, what the heck? I'm going to give these a try because they look fun. And sometimes we do that little stress shopping on Amazon and we see something that's $15 seems to be my sweet spot. This palette was $15. These pastels I think were $15 or $16. Sometimes you just need a little retail therapy, I guess. And yeah, we're gonna give these a whirl because I love oil pastels and I love water soluble stuff. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. Maybe I'll play with the stuff first and then maybe go to a color scheme later. So what I was thinking would be fun would be what if we use like a stencil to make a grid layout? I thought that would be really fun. And by the way, these products, aside from the color cubes, I've linked in the video description if you want to check them out. I have a few of my sketchbook floozy stencils here. I also have this. I love this stencil here. I cut this. I think it's too big for this. I cut this when I was kind of coming up with some more sketchbook floozy stencils, but that line has run its course. Yeah, that line's run its course. Maybe I'll make my own. Maybe I'll choose a template and try to make a little. I think I can fit that one 3 times across. I think that would work pretty well. I'm going to try that. This is just like a drafting template. And I'm going to go ahead and use one of these pens. Let's just take one at random. I'm feeling in a pink mood today. We'll try this. Hopefully these pens work. They've got little little caps on the end so they don't come too dry. But here's the moment of truth. So what I'm going to do when I am doing something like this and I need to layer, like I want to make things. Oh yeah, right out of the gate they work. I want to make things line up. I will do my outer ones and then I'll do the inner ones. So I'm going to use the edge of my template to line up the outer four, and then I'll put the inner two in there. And we're going to do a circle grid layout because you can do a lot of chaotic crap for lack of a better word. But if you have something to organize it, like a grid layout, it will look beautiful. And I think with this glitter paper, that would look really fun too. So I'm going to do my four. This is just, I got this at Staples like a million years ago. Um, I actually I got a pack of four. They were thick plastic circle stencils because I'd lost this one. I couldn't find it. And I don't know where it actually turned up, probably behind a shelf or something. Oh, shoot. I just moved it. And anyway, I found a pack of four, and that was great. So I have them stashed all over the house. Now we'll deal with that later. I know I made a little boo boo, but we're not going to worry about that. So, in this last one, I just have to just line it up between those two guys and do my best. And even if it's not perfect, I think it'll be fine. I heard a really great quote the other day on this. I was actually on a channel that is more about finance and stuff. But his quote, he left this quote and he said, the your failures are tuition for your success. So I love that because I always say there you don't fail, you either learn or you succeed. But I like that. So like your failures are tuition to your success. Now I'm wondering if this is water soluble. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, how does this retract? How do we? Oh, you push down this part to make it retract. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take a brush and some water and see where I made a boo-boo, if I can lift it up, because we're experimenting. Um, let's see. It looks like it's blurring a little bit, but these pens, I think, are gonna be fairly waterproof because that's barely budging. That's all right. We can use one of my fabulous new finds that I didn't link. I linked it last week, but these super opaque white gel pens, they're I think my pick of the year. these these darn pens because they are so opaque and they have so much ink. Like the whole barrel is full of ink. There's another one floating around here somewhere. But pick of the year there. We'll tidy that up later. So let's try the watercolors. I'm really curious about them. I'm gonna grab a brush and I'm just gonna try right from the pan without pre-wetting them and see how they are. Because I don't know how they are. We're just gonna do this as kind of like a swatch there. We've got a pretty ultramarine blue. I know nothing about this paint. I have no idea what we're making here today. Oh, you know what else I have? Oh my gosh, right here. This is a bag of remember, I don't know if on Sat Chat, if you watch Sat Chat, I'm gonna zoom in. I had talked about gel printing my daughter's birthday presents. And I did. And so Maisie came and unwrapped her presents this weekend, and um, she left their paper. And so I'm like, I said, if you don't want the paper, just leave it. I'll throw it in my collage box. And so she didn't want it, so I took it down here. So I've got that too. So maybe we'll like tear some of those gel prints and add them to this, whatever we end up doing here. Ooh, we got a Prussian blue. It looks like that's really pretty. Let's see, what else do we have in this little palette here? We've got, oh, look at that. Beautiful turquoise, like a probably a PG-17. I don't think there's any like any pigment information on this. I enjoy playing with random supplies. Maybe I'll do like three per, well, actually, yeah, maybe I'll do three colors per little circle here. I will do question and answer breaks. So if you're watching the replay and you don't like the chatter, you can always skip past those. But if you do have a question for me as we're going along, because I'm going to be grabbing different things to use, then just go ahead and type the word question in all caps and then just pop your question into the chat. I'm gonna add a little bit more of that really pretty turquoise. I'm just wondering what the paint is because Paul Rubens does, there are several different lines of paint, but they also seem to white label from other companies too, because I've seen things come out from Paul Rubens that have paint in them that are made by Superior, or there's one that I think might even be made by White Knights because it's just too similar to, well, these kind of look like little planets, just too similar to Ignore. Oh, you know what I might do? Actually, maybe we'll do it kind of like let the colors proceed like a rainbow. I'm just gonna wet this circle. Those gel ink pens seem to be pretty waterproof, so that might be something kind of fun to explore. And this is how we learn about products. Um, Especially if you're intimidated by them and you're not sure what to do, just play. And I really just needed that. I've been stressed out. I've been stressed out the last week and a half. So one thing I really like to do is mix greens using orange instead of yellow. So I'm gonna go take some of this orange. That's a pretty orange. I'm gonna add some of that turquoise color because this set doesn't have a green in it, I don't think, unless one of those colors are green and I just can't tell because they're so dark in there, which is actually a really good sign when you're looking at watercolors and you're thinking about buying a set, but you can't swatch them out, so you're not really sure. If they look really dark in the pan, chances are they're going to be very transparent. When the colors look really vibrant, like candy in a palette, then generally they're going to be more chalky. So just keep that in mind. I'm not worried about anything matching, going together, coordinating. I'm just playing at the stage. We have beautiful weather this week in Maine. And I took the convertible out yesterday and I went and visited my mom. I hadn't seen her in a couple weeks. She'd been busy on the weekends when I called, and um, so I said, well, let's go have lunch on Tuesday. And we went and did that. And I picked a bunch of pears. She has a couple pear trees. They are just loaded. And picked some pears. And then there's an apple tree out back that has been long neglected. And there were apples, but they were so high up that I was only able to get like five with one of the little picking tools. but I'm hoping they're good. I want to make something with it. I feel like being puttery, baking something. All right, let's go to these three. It's a nice lemon yellow. I would say this is probably a Hansi yellow. I'm not sure about the orange. I would doubt it would be a cadmium orange without any disclosure, so I would say it's probably like a oh, PO13. You see that a lot in like your less expensive paints. And then let's do this red. This red looks like a pyrrole red. I had a call with the folks for the Italy retreat, the organizers this morning. I'm so excited now. Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped. I can't wait. We're gonna have so much fun. I think there might be some friends going to Italy in the chat here. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have so much fun. Although I got my wires crossed. Oh my word, this is so embarrassing. I got my wires crossed. I'm on the phone, and there's our host from the venue, the person from Up Trek, and then the local tour guide that's going to be taking us around. And so I said, okay, and during this, I said, on this, what day are we going to go see the shipwreck? And they're looking at me like I have two heads. And like, what? I'm like, where's the trip to the shipwreck? And they're like, what? And I was thinking about Greece next year. That would be quite an excursion. We'd have to go a couple countries away. But that was funny. I'm getting excited for that too. And the spots are filling up. I'm excited because at first I was like, oh boy, I don't know. But I'm feeling much more confident about that. It's gonna be, I mean, I know it'd be a fun time. I'm just kind of like, oh boy, am I gonna be able to get enough people that want to go? But it's looking good. This red looks like a alizarin crimson or maybe a madder red. A little bit more neutral than like a rose. Let's see what the next color is. So far, we've got a fairly discordant bunch of planets happening here, but well, that'd be fitting with the week of our lunar eclipse, and something must be in retrograde. That's all I can say. Mercury must be in a retrograde because things are crazy. This looks like a dioxazine violet. The colors are good. They seem nice and strong. I wonder what this next color is. We're gonna see. We're gonna add it to the mix. Oh, it looks like a Payne's gray. Yeah, it looks like a Payne's gray. Let's take a little bit more red in there, though. I feel like the red got dwarfed. This is kind of a fun way to start a sketchbook too. Although like I said, I think that these are going to tear out more like a pad. They don't feel like it's just like a gum binding on the side. Let's see. Let's see what this color is. It looks like it's probably black. Yes, black it is. It's kind of weak, honestly. This has been the least impressive color of the mix. That one might need a little pre-wetting. The Looking at the pans, they are kind of indented. You know what these remind me a lot of is the Maritini. Well, I believe it's Maritini that makes it. Fun2 has a palette where there's these tiny little quarter pans in it. I can actually show you in a bit if anybody's interested. But just the way these colors look all indented, and how they're nice and transparent, it reminds me of those paints quite a bit. Maybe we'll do a little side by side swatch at some point, or maybe I'll save that for when I review these. But I think the best way to kind of get to know a paint is just to play around with it, not have expectations. Oh, I think that might be my favorite little color mix there. Okay, what should we do for the last one? I'll take some questions after I fill this last little circle in so we can You can give them a second to settle and dry. You know what? Maybe I'll just kind of soak up the puddle and add that. Oh, that's a pretty color. And I don't worry when I'm doing a grid layout like this, I don't worry about my shapes being absolutely perfect because I can always go in with gesso or something and straighten things out or add a frame to each of the circles so I don't have to fret about that. I'm gonna bring my color right over that little mistake I made. I think I want to add some more of that yellow ochre in there. Now, if I mix it with the purple, it's going to get muddy, but I think if I kind of have it next to it, it will just be kind of pretty. But don't let it mix too much. Or maybe add a little red in between the two. Reminds me of the Grateful Dead logo a little bit there. Let's add a little bit of that red in there. We got a nice flow though. Look at that. Oh, it's like a delightful cookie or lollipop or something. I like it. All right. I'm going to look at the chat and see if anybody has any questions for me. All right. Oh my gosh, we're 21 minutes in? Really? Boy, time flies. Okay, I'm going to start most recent and work backwards. So if you know, so that's how the questions will come. If I miss your question, you can always repost it. So if you're watching the replay and you don't care about the questions, you can skip ahead. All right, Virginia Bush asks, what is your favorite red? I like a lipstick red, hard to find. I would recommend looking for a Naphthol Crimson if you want that lipstick red. The caveat with Naphthol colors is they tend not to be the most light fast colors. So another option would be a Pyrrole Scarlet. That's pretty close to lipstick fire engine red, and that's a much more durable color. Start there. And then if that's not crisp enough, you can try a permanent alizarin crimson. Um, I think those will all kind of get you in that neutral, really vibrant red. Art Jewel says, question, how are you doing? Today I'm doing much better. I am it's just kind of one of those things. It's been this like little stressful banking situation over the last week and a half. But I mean it'll work out. It's just kind of a pain and I hate having to keep thinking about it and checking on it. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I had a nice visit with my mother and my aunt. I saw my sister for a very brief moment yesterday. It's always good to touch base with the fam. And yeah, I saw Maisie and Jackson last weekend, and I'll see Lila this weekend. So it's always good, you get to touch base with all your family. That's always a good time. I'm just scrolling back looking for questions. Apologize for the dead air. Oh yes, I was using a Creative Mark watercolor brush. It's a synthetic squirrel by Jerry's Artorama, or you can find them on Amazon too. I forgot to link brushes. I wasn't sure what brushes I was going to use, and the reason for that is because I actually have my bucket of mixed media brushes because where I have the water soluble oil pastels. I'll probably be switching over to those brushes just because they're going to be probably a little bit. They're going to need a little bit more oomph to the brush, I think. Okay, that was a brush question. Brand of white gel pen. It is Boo Tiger, Buutiger. I just kind of came across these. There's a few brands selling this exact same pen on Amazon. I started off with a different brand. I loved it. They sold out. So then I bought this brand because it had three different sizes in the pack. And the other pack I had was all um 1 millimeter, and they were really thick. They were great, but I wanted some finer ones too. So they're a great buy. I linked to them last week. I'll update the link. I'll update my list after the broadcast because I'm probably going to grab some things that I haven't planned on. Okay. All right. I think I'm caught up. I'll just see if there's anything just posted. The paper is good, Karen. I'm really happy with it. I've actually used that cotton paper from Paul Rubens before. It's nice. It's got a little bit of a glitter shine, but it's not. It's got glitter embedded in the paper, but it's not distracting or anything. It's just kind of lovely, actually. I don't know if you really notice it on camera, but it's a pretty paper and very well. It's got a good sizing. Okay. If I missed your question, go ahead, repost it. Just make sure the word question is in all caps. Skirker asked, you mentioned that the sizing of the paper may go bad. How long does that usually take for it to go bad? It depends. If you're in a high, humid tropical area, it might go bad in the course of months to a year. If you're in a place that's really dry, it may never go bad. I have some paper from the 90s that's still fine. So it depends on how much sizing the manufacturer used, the quality of the sizing. I think sizing used to be much better because people used to soak and stretch their papers. And now that most artists don't bother stretching their paper, they don't use as much sizing. They realize they could, I guess they probably realized they could skimp on the sizing and save some money and it wouldn't even be noticed. Or maybe because preferences have changed and people want a softer paper because they're not soaking it. I don't know. I do know that older arches, I have old arches in my stash that holds up way better than newer arches. And if I buy new arches, I really need to plan to use it up in a certain amount of time. And also, a lot of brands used animal gelatin sizing, and now they've switched over to a plant-based sizing. And I have to say, I think the animal sizing, they would make it out of the bones, so it was a byproduct of the animal industry. They didn't kill animals for the bones; it was a byproduct of the meat industry. But I think it made a better sizing. And I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so and I'm very mindful about animal byproducts. I don't eat animal byproducts, but if something's going to be just thrown away and wasted otherwise, I don't have a problem with using a product that contains it in my art. But obviously everyone has to make their own choices there. That's just my feeling on it. So this is a 140-pound paper. I think it probably should be taped down if you want it to remain flat. You can see we got a little warp there, but I don't think that's going to cause us any trouble. So let's play with these oil pastels. So I don't really know what I'm going to do here, but I think I'm just going to start adding some color. We'll get to see how opaque they are. I think I can still see a little bit of the color under there. Let's see how it blends. Hmm. They feel like they might be. Oh, look at that. I didn't leave anything on my fingers, really. These don't have a smell. That's nice. They're drier than I thought they would be. Huh. Don't really know exactly what I'm doing here. Just getting a feel for them, really. They seem nice and opaque. They're a little bit crumbly. Not too bad, but you can kind of see a little crumb texture there. Let's see. I wish I did a two-page layout because then I could swatch these. Oh, you know what I could do? We could put some of these in the borders and try adding water and seeing how they blend out. Let's try that with a few colors here. All right, they seem to blend into each other really well, but let's try adding some water and seeing what happens. Oh, look at that. They wash out pretty well. Yeah, maybe I'll add some pastel to the outside here. And then um There are a little bit of crumbs there. And then I can always put gesso over it if I decide I don't like it, and I can scratch designs back, and then we can see what we had for color underneath. I think that would work out pretty well. Let's do that. Oh, something else I'd like to try, because when I use water-soluble oil pastels, what I like to do is use them pretty thickly and then just use a little bit of water to blend them together a bit. I don't know if did I get that color? I did not. So let's see how that would work if I wanted to keep it kind of thick. So I just use a little bit of water, kind of wipe the extra water off my brush. Because like right there, I kind of washed all that wax away. But what if I want to leave the wax on there? I just want to merge the colors together a bit. Yeah, so use a fairly stiff Taklon brush and just a tiny bit of water if you want to keep that body of the color. Now, I wonder, what if I take some watercolor and try to blend watercolor into it? Will it resist or will it go? I'll take that purple because the watercolor seems to go blend right into it just fine. Although you can see, like, where I put the purple watercolor right directly on the paper versus where I put it over the water-soluble pastel, it grabbed the paper more and it's darker there, so it could still create a little bit of a resist. Let's keep swatching, let's keep going, let's see what we can see. This is a beautiful color. Beautiful plummy mauve. So I'm kinda getting a bit of an idea about where I wanna go with this, and what I'm thinking is that I will go around the circles with the oil pastels, wash them out a little bit, and then add either gesso or block out white on top, and then maybe scratch back in or something. Or maybe I will stencil over it. I'm not sure, but I'm getting a bit of an idea of what I might want to do. You can see the crumb buildup, but I was kind of worried that these would be really hard and dry, but they don't feel hard and dry. They actually have a nice creamy feeling to them. They're not as creamy feeling as a typical non-water soluble oil pastel, but it's kind of a nice texture. And I think the crumbs you could just pick kind of like lift them off with your finger if you wanted to, if it's a problem. I usually don't use every color in a box on a project, but we're gonna have so much packed into this little, I think it's like, I don't know, how big is this, 5 by 7? It's pretty small. Oh, my nose has been running like crazy today. Oh my gosh, Christy, thank you so much for the super chat. It's very kind of you. All right, let's see. Go on some of these other reds. Maybe I'll bring this brighter red over here. Christy just paid for my oil pastels. I appreciate it. All right. Sometimes you'll be working along on something and you'll start to see it kind of come together. And I love it when that happens, when it kind of like clicks where you're like, oh, now I know what I'm gonna go, where I'm gonna go with this. I love it when that happens. Now I'm getting close to these warmer colors, so I want to make sure there's gonna be enough contrast. I think I'm gonna scooch over here to the browns. That's a little bit darker. I'm gonna want to keep a fairly thick application in here. Let's try this yellow ochre color. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how they blend. I love that there's no smell to them. Oh, look at this color. Isn't that pretty? It's like, it's called mint. Ooh, let's see how that would go with yellow ochre. Oh, it looks almost just, it almost looks too white. Let's put it in here and see. It's a pretty color. It's pretty color, but I think it'd be more like a really light highlight on some green. It's pretty salmon color. Actually, let's bring some of that over here. Oh, look at that green. Isn't that pretty? Olive green. These actually have names on them. I'm surprised. A lot of times when you have like a budget set of pastels, they don't bother with names. And the other thing I kind of like about this is that the wrapper, it has the color of the stick on the wrapper itself and the writing's in that color. So even if the middle of the stick is pretty messy, you still have that on the end. I'd say the only negative I'm seeing so far is just the crumbliness of them. Oh, that's a pretty dark green. That one's called forest green. Oh, look at that. That's a really nice muted green. These actually might be fun for plein air painting. And then because they're water soluble, you can just bring I probably wouldn't do a water brush. I think that would give you too much water, but you could do something like that. Oh, look at this green. Looks like a chrome oxide color. It's called green gray. Bring that into the purple. That purple's a little much. We can tone that down a bit. Yeah, I think the purple's just a little too much there. Let's go over with that green. Look at that layering over. That layered over that purple pretty well. That purple was vibrant. Ooh, I'm kind of getting excited about these. There's a lot of greens in here. That's pretty. This color is called moss green. Mm, nice. Now we got some really kind of bright chartreusey greens. I don't know about putting those in the background. I think it's kind of freeing when you know you're going to do some collaging. You don't have to worry so much about, anything you put that you don't like, you can cover up. So, and then you've got a bunch of your, typical unnatural bluish greens. Let's try mixing those with um let's try mixing them with some of these neutrals and see what we get. That tones it down nice. And those bright greens can seem kind of garish, but oftentimes those are great because you mix them with a little orange, you mix them with a little yellow, and then you can bring those muted, more natural tones to life. It's always easier to desaturate a color than it is to make it brighter again. I think I used that brown. I don't think I used this brown yet. I don't worry too much about swatching oil pastels just because they generally what you see is what you get. So they're generally an opaque product, although this orange is very translucent. You can see the little crumbs that I was talking about. Ooh, I like the way they blend though. I'll take questions in just a minute. So if you have questions ready, you know the drill. Question in all caps and then type your question. I think I'll maybe soften that red with a little bit of this yellow. When you do have a transparent color, that's a really good blending color because if it's transparent, it'll be less likely to go muddy. So just a little Little word to the wise, if you find that you've got a color that's transparent, maybe you're bummed about it because you're like, "Ah, I can't cover over anything. What a bummer." S Put that in your arsenal for mixing tools because you'll be able to mix those colors and not get mud. Ooh, see how we're not it's I'm mixing all this yellow everywhere and it's not making too much mud because it's transparent. It's just imparting its color, and then you get these beautiful chromatic neutrals. Even I'm going over purple, and that's a beautiful brown it's making. It's not even like a muddy brown, it's like a chromatic brown or luminous brown, cleaning the mud off of my pastel, and it's pretty. All right, so what I wanna try really quick is just blending these in with my finger without anything and see what it will do to those crumbs. Can I integrate the crumbs, or am I better off just brushing them off into the trash? It's probably gonna just depend on what you want. If you want more control, probably brush the crumbs off into the trash, but if you want more color on your page, try integrating them in. They don't feel like they feel pretty dry. Like, they don't feel, as greasy as an oil pastel. These are interesting. They are, definitely not as hard as a Neocolor, but they feel pretty dry on there. Alright, I am gonna brush dust this off onto into my trash can, and then I will take some questions. I like that little palette too. The quality of the paints is good, and I love how it hooks onto my sketchbook there without any additional tools required. The other cool thing is I'm brushing this off. Now I could have used a brush, but I'm brushing off and it's not smearing the oil pastels across my circles. Yeah, that's kind of fun. And I can brush it off my desk without it smearing all over my desk. All right. I'm impressed. I need to wipe my fingers off here. Okay. Looking for some questions. If you're watching the replay and you want to skip ahead, that's totally fine. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I take questions, I wonder maybe we should just go ahead and paint some white gesso over that background. Let me get some great planning, Lindsay. Maybe not gesso. Maybe I'll use block of white because I don't know where my gesso is at the moment. Did you know that on the paint pucks, this area here on a paint puck is meant for you to put paint on and use it as a palette? I don't know how that didn't dawn on me, but that's what I'll do. So I'm going to do that and then I will take your questions. I probably grabbed more than I need. Oh, you know what? It might be kind of fun. I wonder if that color is going to leach up into the paint because it's water soluble. So if I was doing this over oil pastels, it wouldn't. But you know what? I think it might. I think it might with this because the water in the paint might make it pull up. And this paint, by the way, it's Chromacryl Blockout White. It is the most opaque acrylic paint I've ever used. I don't know what their other colors. This is the only color I've used by them, but it's really wonderful, and I get it at Blick. And this is the second bottle I've bought 'cause I've used one up already, but that's what it looks like. It's a student acrylic. It's not expensive. It's like this was maybe $8, which may sound like a lot, but it's a lot of paint. And then again, that was probably a year ago when I bought it, so it might be more now. Oh, let me know in the if if you can type if your hands aren't completely covered with materials if you're painting along, that would be really cool to know. Or you can let me know afterwards in the comments. But I'm hoping this is inspiring people to kind of dust off those supplies you've wanted to use because I understand having beautiful supplies but not knowing what to do with them. And I just read the book called The War of Art, and it is so good. I highly recommend it. It's not a long book. I borrowed mine from the library, and the author talks about basically fighting this invisible force called the resistance, and the resistance is this force that keeps you from either creating or, leading the life that you want to be leading, and deals with how to fight it and how to show up and do the work even if you're not feeling like doing it, even if you feel like you want to put it off or the muse isn't visiting. And I think all creatives have that sort of problem from time to time where we're just not feeling it. We're not feeling it. We know we want to be creating, we should be creating, and yet we can't make ourselves create. Well, one of the things he talks about is, and it's Stephen Pressman is the writer. He talks about the difference between an amateur and a professional, and he says the amateur um, will decide that he doesn't feel like painting today, and he'll go off and do something else, or he'll wait for the muse to call. But the professional will show up and do the work regardless. And it kind of, and I think work is the option, the word there, because if you may wake up on Monday morning and you don't feel like going to work, but you go to work because you're a professional, whatever it is you do. You might be a professional um, doctor or lawyer or teacher, or you may work in a retail situation. That's your profession. That's what you do. And you get up and you do it because you're a professional. And being a professional artist is no different. And not professional meaning like you get paid for the work that you do in art, just like the kind of more of the outlook or the attitude, I think. And he also talks a lot about the your ego versus your true self, and um, you're painting, or you're creating something that is what your true self wants to create, if you would create it even if you were the last person on earth. If you would still pursue, if you would still paint, if you would still make music, if you would still do whatever it is without an audience, or if you were the last person on earth, or without any sort of other accolades, then you know that you're doing the work that is true to yourself, which I thought was really meaningful to hear, especially in this age of likes and follows, and looking at the analytics, which I do way too much. Um, I don't know. I think it was the book I needed to see. I needed to read when I found it. Oh my gosh, how did I manage to get that off screen so far? So sorry. All right, let me take a look for questions. I took out way too much paint. Don't take out as much paint as I did. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Did you guys hear that Derwent is coming out with 72 of the drawing pencils? Somebody, I guess, let it slip like a week or two ago. I knew I had a package coming from Derwent, and of a brand new product. They wouldn't tell me what it was. And then somebody, I guess somebody got a package of them early and let them slip. And then somebody came and told me, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't have any information about that. But now I can say, yes, the Derwent set of 72 colored pencils is out now. The Derwent drawing. I'm so excited for that. Suzanne Bove has a question. Lindsay, I have a hard time figuring being my style. What do you suggest? Paint, 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 and then paint some more, because your style will emerge. You can't, there's no finding your style finds you, I think. Just like you don't find your audience finds you. You create the art, and then your audience will find you. The fan will find you, you know? If I was the last person on earth, painting is what I would do the most, says Wildflower. Here, here. I always think about that. It's like, if I was to be stranded on a desert island, what would I want to have with me? And it definitely would be art supplies. Maybe some food, but definitely art supplies. Have to ration my water between painting. Actually, I could use the seawater to paint. Let's see. Remember, if you have a question, type the word question in all caps. Can you substitute that white with gesso? Maria asks. Yes, you can. That would work just fine. I was going to use gesso, but for some reason, that basic supply was not within arm's reach. Oh my gosh, that book also talks about like different ways we procrastinate. And if you're cleaning when you should be making art, that's procrastination, even though it's productive. I'm like, oh, he has my number. Thank you, Joe, for leaving the link of that chroma quill blockout white. I really like that. And gosh, don't take out as much as I did, because a little goes a long way. Oh, Emmy Bear's talking about the Derwent 72 drawing set. Oh my gosh, I am so excited about that. I went to Bethesda, Maryland for the Colored Pencil Society conventions trade show, and I demoed the 24 set of the Derwent drawing. And people were asking me, are they ever going to release more drawing pencils? And they'd always said no, they're not, because it's just that those muted colors go for the light fast if you want to, expand. So I'm really curious to see that palette. I'm like, is it going to be that meaningfully different than the light fast range? I'm really curious about seeing the pricing on it too, because um, the Derwent drawings were less expensive than the light fast, and you got more lead. But I don't know. This seems like the prices have gone up quite a bit over the last year or so. So I'm really curious to see how the pricing is going to stack up between them and the light fast. They are a different formulation, so they are definitely their own thing, but, they're both light fast pencils, and if one's cheaper than the other, that might really be a selling point for one or the other. Reflections ask, are all oil pastels water soluble? No, most oil pastels are not water soluble. Um, so that's what makes these kind of fun. Now, something I'm noticing as this paint is drying, the crumbs that I didn't blend out are really standing out underneath this paint. So uh, those are probably, I don't know if I like that. Just something I mentioned. I might do another coat of the white over this too, and that will probably seal in any of the color that's shining through, but we're just let that dry for a few minutes. Cumbrian colorist Claire asks, "Hey Lindsay, with you being a Derwent ambassador, do you know any more about the Derwent drawing set, which is being released soon?" Yeah, oh yeah. Sorry, I should have proofread that before I read it out loud. Yes, package it on the way. So I don't know. It shipped out yesterday from the UK, so it could be a week or two before I get it. But as soon as I do, maybe we'll just unbox that during a live and we'll swatch it and draw something. I don't know. I'm excited. So excited about that. Empty Nest Scrapper asks, "Do all oil pastels produce crumbs?" Well, the crumbs, no, some maybe to some degree. I guess to some degree they will all make a little bit of crumbing, but it's usually in the harder pastels. Like the Sennelier will rarely produce crumbs, but it will put out like really rich buttery passages of color. Your harder, drier pencils or pastels are going to be more crumbly. It just depends on the formulation, and you can generally blend them out with your finger, or you can brush them off your paper. So I don't think it's a huge problem. It's just if you absolutely hate the crumbs, you might want a softer pastel. The Crayola portfolio oil pastels that are water soluble are smoother and softer than this. Virginia asks, "What do you do about the crumbles? Do you smooth them out later?" You can rub them out, smooth them out later. You can brush them off. It really is up to you. Thank you, Heather, for the super chat. My goodness, you guys are generous today. This is crazy. I appreciate that. Coffee money. I will definitely buy a coffee and I will thank you into the ether as I do. That's enough for a Starbucks. Oh, Wolfsig, thank you. I'm so sorry that I missed those super chats as I was drawing. I usually don't I don't ask for them, so I'm surprised when they come. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. Um oh, and if you guys want to hit the thumbs up button while you're here, that would be really great. It'll just help people know that this video is worthwhile and worth watching. Okay, I think I'm caught up with those questions unless any just came in. And let's just give this a real quick dry. Now, when you're drying acrylic paint, you got to be careful because it will blister. So you got to keep that. A hair dryer is better than a heat tool. Really, a heat tool is not ideal for this. But I'm just trying to take any little. I'm actually going to dry it from the bottom side. Sometimes it can be a cool effect though. If you want some really gnarly, bubbly, especially if it's a glossy paint, you can hit it with a heat tool and it will give you some really cool effects. But in general, if you want a nice flat archival finish on your acrylic paint, don't use a heat tool. But I'm just keeping it at a distance and just doing it to do those final bits of drying. If you did it on on wet glossy paint, you'd get so much bubbling. It would look almost like an alligator skin type effect. So it might be something that you want. But since I have this obnoxious amount of paint left over, I'm going to go ahead and give this another coat. And yeah, we're getting it's nice and bright white now. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll grab a round brush and try to be a little bit more careful around my circles. I don't think we're going to have perfect circles here, but that's all right. I like a wonky circle. I'm thinking about um, trying some plein air markering later today. I'm thinking about taking a little trip out to a local stream and seeing if I can do a landscape with. I got a set of markers and they have these new chisel tips to them. And I did an artwork with them and I like the artwork, but it didn't really show the chisel tips to their greatest advantage. And I was using the brush end more than anything. So I thought it might be fun to go do a little plein air this afternoon and try to film it. Not great at filming plein air. It's hard to stay in the zone because then it's such an unusual thing for me to do to film it that to make sure everything's kind of in frame and all that. The fighting of the ego and the self, I guess, is what Stephen Pressman would say. If you're painting along at home and you want to take a moment to pop into the chat, let me know what products you're using. I'm curious about the different combinations we got floating around there today. Oh, if I was I have some transparent sticky notes. If I should have cut out circles from the transparent sticky notes. I could have plopped them right down on here and just brushed willy-nilly over and I wouldn't have had all kinds of brush marks. But I have a feeling the brush marks might be kind of interesting as we go along. So I'm gonna go with it. Now this brush here is a just a generic one. It came with a paint set, but it's got a wooden handle. I like the Zen mixed media brushes with the plastic handles because if I forget them in the water, the wood won't swell. There's no wood to swell, and I don't have to worry about the wood swelling and then the brushes, the ferrules coming loose. And when you're using like stuff like acrylic paint, it's not like watercolor or gouache, where if I don't get my brush fully cleaned and it sits out on the table, I can always wash it out later. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, ideally, you want to wash your brushes as they're dirty, but with acrylics, you don't want to leave them out with paint in them, or that could be a big deal. All right, I'll give them a good rinse. But actually, with the paint pucks, I can suspend them in water from these inner things. I can suspend just the bristles, except these bigger brushes don't want to stick in them too well. I can do it with a smaller one though. Well, that's a Zen, so that's okay if that sits in the water. I can just kind of pop it in there and suspend it in the water so the bristles stay wet, but the wooden handle doesn't get bothered. I kind of want to do some stamping over this. Maybe give this a real quick dry and do a little stamping on top. Ooh, you know what I could do? Actually, I could do some stamping with the white paint, and then it doesn't matter if it goes over the edges. Let's do that. I've got my basket of random stamps and stencils here. It's the stuff that I use quite a bit, so I leave it handy. Oh, I know what I want to use. I think I did damn it stencil in here. Yes. This stencil right here. These are a couple stamps actually that I designed with well, Craft Stash when it was Craft Stash. And there's a couple things actually I want to try. I want to try stamping with paint first. I'm just going to use this brush because I have all this paint left over. I hate to waste paint. Now, when you do these are a silicone stamp because they're so big. It's harder to do that in a photopolymer. Because it's a silicone stamp, it's going to be a little easier to clean, actually. Although I wouldn't recommend letting paint sit on it. But I'm going to try to get kind of a just distressed effect. I might actually lift up some of the paint on the background, and that might be kinda cool. Yeah, let me do that again. I hate to waste paint. So a lot of times I just keep using it. I'll just keep using that media until I for better or worse, until I've used it up. Oh, that looks kinda cool. Alright, so I'm just gonna spray this with water and set it aside and hopefully not forget it. I noticed that Angela and Karen are in the chat, so, if you wouldn't mind sending me a text to clean my stamp, that'd be great. And so then I'll see that when I get off the broadcast, I'll see, "Oh, yes, I gotta clean that." Now I'm also thinking that maybe I will try to use the oil pastels as to ink up a stamp. And I don't know if I'll stamp it on this or on something else, but let's give that a try. So when I do that, what I like to do is spray my stamp and then so I'm just gonna give this a mist of water off. I don't want to spray it on my sketchbook though. And then let's choose some colors that would look nice. I'll just zoom out a little bit so you can see my colors a little bit. Water bucket out of the way. Let's do maybe some like, oh yeah, look at that. It's taking the color. Might just go into the next page on that. Because I think it's a hot press paper. I think that would work just fine. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. I don't want to put the yellow on the purple because I don't want it to be brown, but I'll just put it in there a few places. Let's do some pink. Oh, maybe go a little crazy with a little bit of this olivey green, forest green color. Hope this works. Hmm, what else should we put? You know, it looks good. Strangely enough, sometimes it looks cool just to go a little bit of black here and there when you're doing this technique. All right, let's see what we got. Oh my gosh, how pretty is that? Oh, let's see if we can get it. I wonder if we can get another impression from this, if there's enough on there. Well, let's see. I'm going to spray this with a fine mister. Let's see if we can get another impression off there. That is pretty. And I love how the little palette stays out of the way. I still have it hooked on there and it stays out of the way. Okay. And it kind of, this cleans the stamp off too. Okay. So that's first generation. That's second generation. That's really cool. Oh, I think that's so fun. Okay. You know what else would be really fun to do? Let's while we're letting because I think that you know what? Because this the way this sketchbook works, it's like if I flip that over, I don't think it's gonna really rub on the front too much. So I think I can just flip that over. We can work on this page. I don't even know if you really want to call this a sketchbook, but let's do some lighter colors and color just kind of color in the damask design a little bit. Damask design, I mean. And then wash over with a gentle bit of watercolor and see how, like, if we're careful, if we can get some nice resist effects. And then we'll see how versatile these oil pastels are. Can we do a watercolor resist with them if we're careful? Because even though they're water soluble, they still contain wax. So we might be able to do something like that. And boy, let me tell you that I love finding an alternative to Caran d'Ache crayons these days because I do not care for their recent shenanigans. Oh, that's such a pretty color. I was ready to be like not wowed by these. I had no expectations. I'm like, they were like $16. maybe not even that much, I don't know. I did not have high hopes. I thought they'll be fun, and I'm just curious about them. And, I needed a little retail therapy apparently. Um, but, I'm pleasantly surprised. I like the opacity of them, I like the color range, the price. I mean, do you know what 48 Caran d'Ache, Neocolor 2 crayons would cost you? It wouldn't be $16. I don't know what they would be at the top of my head. I don't think they do a 48 set, but like a 40 set would probably be, um, I don't know, at least $80, I would think. Did we do this one? I don't think we did this color, did we? No, we didn't. Oh, this is fun. I'm so glad I decided to do this. Yesterday when I was, getting the, what do you wanna say, programming in the, live stream, I was getting ready to head out and see my mom, and I really didn't know what I wanted to work on. I was looking through my sketchbooks and nothing was just like nothing was hitting, nothing felt like, "Yeah, I wanna do that." Um, so I'm so glad I'm going and doing this. Color maybe what about a gray? I usually don't use gray. Let's try gray. Gonna bridge these. That one had a significant crumble on it. I also think that as I'm using the colors more, like if it's a color I've used a couple times, I'm getting less crumbling. The crumbling seems to be maybe coming more from the edges and like the maybe drier outer side of the pastel. Like I have no idea how how long these have been out. I'm gonna look on the box. Maybe there's a year on the box. Maybe this is I'm just wondering if it's got sometimes they have dates on the tag. So I just didn't know, maybe it was kinda, like, dried out or something? I don't know. I've had pretty good luck with Mart products that I've used, not their clear gesso, I don't recommend that. I'm a stickler for Liquitex clear gesso as far as having that wonderful texture, but oh, and when you go in to put a color down on, like, a layout like this, add it a few places, because if you do something once, it seems like a mistake, but if you do it a few times, then it becomes a design element, and then it looks good. Let me do some of this, kind of like steely gray too. I don't know what colors I'm gonna put over this, though. I have no idea. I want something that'll contrast. Now I'm using so many colors here. Maybe I should just stick to using cool colors here, and I'll use warm colors to go over top. Use some white in there, I suppose. I don't think I've used the white yet. White doesn't feel like it's all that opaque, but I haven't swatched it out on black, so it's really hard to say. All right, let's do a wash and see what we get. Open up our cute little palette there. Oh, let's try mixing on the little mixing surface because we can see how that does. And I'm gonna go back. You know what? I don't think I want to go to a watercolor brush because um I don't know if I want to get that oil like residue on my watercolor brushes. So what I think I'll do is take a little yellow ochre. This is again one of those all media Zen all media brushes. It's like Taklon bristle and plastic handle, and those are by Royal and Langnickel, and they're about $3 a piece, between $3 and $5 a piece. So they're a very affordable brush. Let's zoom in a little bit, I suppose. There we go. And let's do a little bit of this red, a little bit of the purple. I think those will make. Boy, these colors are nice. I imagine they'll probably wear out pretty quickly, but and actually, some of this kind of spray paper. All right, here goes. Ooh, can I gently? Yeah, I think I can gently apply it. I think I need a bigger brush though. You gotta be really, really gentle. I mean, what's wrong with this for a background on something? How pretty. And when you're having one of those days where you're like, the resistance, man, the resistance is killing me here. I can't think of anything I want to do. Grab those supplies that are just vexing you and start doing stuff like this. Do some random stuff. I think maybe just a little bit more of that red. Now, notice how I'm just kind of like grazing over. I don't want to liquefy the oil pastel. In this case, I want to see if I can do a resist. I think that is quite lovely, to be honest. I think that's really pretty. Okay, no, let's dry that and then get some more of that white paint and stamp on top. I think that would be excellent. Or gesso. Gesso would actually, or actually even watercolor ground or gesso or something would be great too, because then you could work on top of it. Let's see how page number one is doing while we're at it. Oh, that's drying pretty well. I'll take some questions while I'm drying this. I think I can do two things at once. I think I can hold a hair dryer or a heat tool while I scroll my questions. We'll see. Might be asking a lot, but Paint Splash 5 asks, question, is the glitter from the paper coming through at all? I love it with watercolor, but are the pastels transparent enough so that you can see it? No, if you're putting down the pastels thickly, you're not going to see the glitter. If you mush out the pastels, you can see it a bit. But I'm going to say, I'm just looking everywhere where I put the lines of pastels. The glitter shows through where I stamped where I stamped the design because it's so thin. The ink is so thin at that point that I've used it on the stamp. The glitter will show through, but if you're drawing on the paper, it's not going to show through the pastel. Ooh, Reflection says, I love it. Background for Christmas cards. That would be such a great Christmas card background. Oh my gosh, I love that. And a stamp like this that's so generic, it's just a basic damask pattern. Yeah, that could be used for any sort of occasion as well. And you can find a damask anywhere. That one's one of mine. I don't even know if they're still in stock anymore. They owe me royalty money, so I don't feel like promoting my products to them anymore because they have not paid their bill. I'm spiteful. Go to Michael's, get the damask stamp. Angela Clark from Clark Fine Art posted a link, says, get yours now before they sell out. Lindsay tends to do that with a product when she shares them. Joe says the set of 40 Carat d'Ache Neocolor Choose is just shy of $100 most places. I was looking at finally replacing my set until I heard Lindsay's experience. And it's nothing negative about the quality of the products. I think the quality, I just want to be completely honest, the quality of New Color 2 crayons is wonderful. It's just the attitude from the company that basically people will buy whatever they put out, however they put it out, and taking profits over people. That's just not my that's not a company I want to support. Angela Clark wants to know how many people have bought the oil pastels. Before I actually invested in my Neocolor 2s, I picked up the Crayola Portfolio water soluble oil pastels, and I used those for a while just to make sure I was liking that type of product before I bought my Neocolor 2s. And I started with a half stick set. Now they sell it as a Swiss Color student grade thing, but that's what they used to sell as a half stick Neocolor 2. And that was a really great way to see if you like that type of product before you spend a lot of money. So That's a good recommendation, I think. So what I want to try now, oh, let me just look. It's really hard for me to scroll back with one hand for some reason. I'm just seeing if I missed any other questions. I'm sorry if this is really chaotic for replay viewers. Gail asks, "What do you think of Kuretake Gansai Tempeh paints? I love mine. I really like them. I should use them more. I think because there's such a large footprint on my table, I tend not to use them so much because when I'm filming, I'm trying to keep everything within a certain space so everything can be seen on camera at once. But I like them. I think they're a nice product, kind of that nice in between a watercolor and a gouache. Almost like a bit, but it almost has an enamely effect to it, so it's not flat like a gouache. It's interesting. Um, I like it. Judith Ann Taylor asks, if you were teaching fifth graders, would you have them use bigger or smaller surfaces, i.e., 5 by 7 versus 9 by 12, paper canvases, etc.? Oh boy. I think at that age, fifth graders, they're probably 10. I think you could go either way. I think when you start to hit around 10, the kids start to like close up a little bit. They start to most adults can't draw better than they could when they were 10 years old. A lot of kids decide at age 10 that they're either an artist or they're not an artist. They're good at art or they're bad at art. And the kids that think they're bad at art will often just that will be it. They never progress beyond that point. So I would almost urge against going too small because of that. But if you're in a time crunch where like you've got half an hour to teach an art project, going small might be the only option because you just can't fill that much space. But in general, I say with kids, I would go larger because they're free already. You don't want to constrain them and make them work small before they just automatically try to do smaller stuff on their own. That's my opinion anyway. Art Jules asks, I'm thinking about Inktense blocks to go with the pans and pencils, mainly to use as a pastel mark making and grinding the powder to make a soft blended background. Thoughts? I think the blocks are probably the most useful Inktense and versatile Inktense product. The formulation of the blocks is the same as the pan paints, but I find that I find them they're more useful, especially like if you like to pick them up and draw with them, but you can also use them like a pan. They're just not as transparent as the pencils, and they will tend because you can apply them more thickly. They do tend to reactivate a little bit where the pencils don't. So I like them. I think they're a great buy if you can afford them. I would say they're a good option. They're also great on fabric. And they're waterproof on fabric because they can really absorb and set into the fabric where sometimes you can't get them to absorb into the fibers of the paper quite as well. I think they're a fantastic product. And all open stock. You don't have to start off with a huge set. In fact, I probably would recommend not getting the 72 set because a lot of the colors are very similar in that set. I probably would go 36 or open stock, whatever colors you think you would use. The link to all the products that I used in the video description, except for the white paint, I think. Um, Marilyn asks, "Can you buy just the completer set of the Derwent 72?" I assume she's talking about. So the Derwent drawing pencils, we were talking about that earlier. They originally they have sets, like a 6 set, 12 set, a 24 set, and that's the full range is 24. She's wondering if there's like a 48 set that would take you from 24 to the 72. That I know, I don't, not that I know of, but they just like dropped today. So I'm not that familiar with how they're coming out. Um, but they are all available open stock. So if you can't get a set with just those 48 colors, you can just buy the colors that you don't have. Or you can wait till you've used up your originals and then just buy the set. They oftentimes do, or sometimes Cult Pens, which I've never ordered from, but I've heard good things about. Sometimes they will do those top up sets where they'll put together out of open stock and give you a deal on like whatever the colors are that are missing to go up to the next size. So between the two, you probably will be able to find something. And let's see, did I miss any? Oh, shoot. Panicking. Where'd my screen go? Oh my gosh. I just like totally minimized the screen and thought that I ended the stream. If I missed your question, like I said, feel free to repost it. I'm not intentionally skipping over anybody. It's just hard to catch the questions sometimes. All right, I'm gonna keep on going. If I missed your questions, like I said, repost. I want to find something to scrape into this, and I think I have a pokey tool I can do that with. Let's try this. Let's just try making some. Oh yeah, look at that. I was going to scrape some framey lines. This technique is called Sgraffito, and this is where you scratch into a surface. So we kind of just made ourselves a scratch art. And you don't have to do that with these pastels. You could take any crayons. Well, I'm just going to close that up so I don't get grime in there. You can take any oil pastels or any regular crayons you have too. You can cover a page with bright colors, paint over it with white or black or gold or whatever paint that you have, acrylic paint you have, let it dry, and then you can scratch into it. I love that. Oh my gosh, that looks so cool. Oh, that is so fun. I actually have some pottery tools that have like a bunch of little wires off of the end for like scoring when you want to slip and score and slip something. I just really like that. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, I just love that. So dainty, so demure, so mindful. Now I will look at the back of this. Okay, I was wondering if anything was going to be bleeding through the back because I'm gonna try it on that one too. I did get some bleed through on the back of that second page that we did. It didn't affect the next page, but it makes me think that maybe some of the pigments in the oil pastel, it could just be that it's because it's an oil pastel and it's got some wax in it. Um, or it could be the dye, it could be dyes or pigments or whatever in there, but I would think dyes maybe. I'm seeing some bleed through on that second page that we did. Nothing on the first page though. So I don't know. That might be something in the oil pastels, could just be the oil property of it, but that's neat. So we can do a resist if we're careful. We can do a scratch back with acrylic paint. And again, we did 2 coats because that first coat wants to mix in with the colors that we used. And the funny thing is, look, if I go over, try to scratch off the white paint that was on the watercolor, it's not scratching off because the watercolor has bonded in with the paper fully. But the oil pastels, where we used it nice and pretty thick, it's scratching back to the oil pastel colors. Oh, I think that's so cool. Getting crumbs everywhere though, but that's to be expected. Something else I want to try. Let's see about scratching a design. And I think I'll just stick with the circles. I'm gonna take this and make a pattern. Let's see if we can. I think we can. We want to center it up in between. Let's try scratching out, like just kind of cross hatching a circle in here. I think that will look cool. This is a fine tip scratcher from the Dollar Tree. I don't know if, oh, maybe one other one here. I feel like that might be a little too pointy. Let's try this one. This one's a little bit less. Oh, look at that. When I crosshatch, though, it is taking up bigger chunks. So that's something to consider if you're trying to remove, like, oh my gosh, I bet I could scratch all that if I wanted to. I don't know if I want to. Oh, let's give it a try. Oh, yeah, look at that. And scratch all that up. So just to get, but this is good information to have because if you're doing like a painting and you're not going to be protecting it with anything, that surface, if you paint over the oil pastel, it can be scratched up. Let me just tap that into my trash. I don't like to blow on this stuff in case it's toxic. I don't really want it in the air. Ah, look at that. That's kind of cool. Can I remember what size I used? I think it was that one. I'm not even sure I really like those big circles there, but I'm in too deep. I'm sure there's tools that make later work of this, but oh, if you had a thick enough layer of paint, you could just do the outline and peel it off like a sticker. That would be satisfying. Oh, what a mess. What a beautiful mess. I just vacuumed in here the other day too. That's tragic. Oh, that's fun. Oh, it would have been cuter, I think, if I did hearts, but oh, let's do some. Oh, look how quick it is to do a little one. I forget what size I used, and I think it was that one. I feel like I'm building like a Moroccan tile design. It's kind of fun. All we used was this circle template, available at any drafting supply store. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay. So maybe a little something in the corner. Maybe go a little smaller in those little corners. All right, scratch art. That's something we can do with our oil pastels. Oh, what size was that? Questioning my memory. I can't move a stencil 3 inches without forgetting what size I just used. All right, I think I'll use a soft brush to just brush these crumbs off into the trash. Oh, my desk, man. Somewhere, I was somewhere. Oh, it was Martin's. Oh, I was with Karen. We were at Martin's and she spotted this desk. It was like a little desk mini vac. And I see those and I think, oh, that's cute, but I don't think that's very practical. But that would have been practical for this particular art project. Now, I think that's pretty adorable. Oh, I think that's cute. I wonder, okay, you know what else I think? I think it needs a little bit of a punch. I think I'll take a black because I didn't use any black here. I think I'll use black and maybe do like an inner. Oh, you know what I should do actually? Let's use our stencil to get a perfect circle. Yeah, let's do that one. I should have done that before I put that first color down, but let me just see if. Now I'll need to clean my stencil off because it's gonna transfer to my next thing if I don't. But that will help me get a nice circle. I like to do a frame. You don't have to. I mean, we could have done it in white, to be honest. I think probably just take like a Q-tip or a blending stump or something and smooth it out. Maybe dry, maybe wet. I'm not sure. Well, I gotta say, just hanging out with you guys here today, I've got $16 worth of fun out of these oil pastels. I bought this was many years ago. I used to do craft fairs a lot, and one year I had the goal just to use up my stash and to reward myself for using up my stash, of course. This was before I KonMari'd everything. Um, I decided I would put a nice big order into Fire Mountain Gems after the craft fair. And one of the things I ordered was this it was a 5 pound random bag of beads. And I think it was like I don't know, like $5 or $10. I think it was $5 actually. And my friend Kathy came over and I'm like, oh, you gotta see what I bought. I hadn't opened it yet. So I opened it up and oh my gosh, did we have quite the time laughing over this foolish purchase that I made because it was like they swept the floor at the bead store and that's what was in there. It was just all like random, the most random stuff that you could imagine. Get that soft brushy going and brush these crumbs. And but we laughed so much just looking at all that stuff. It's like, well, we got our $5 worth of enjoyment just because we were laughing so hard at the foolish things that they said. Okay, I'm gonna wet this blending stump and I am going to try to make it, you know what? Should I try to do it with I don't think I'll get too much water underneath the stencil if I try blending this with the stencil, but I'm gonna try that. These blending stumps are very affordable. Plus I sand them down to clean them. Let's see how that looks. Gosh, that's kind of crumbly, but see if those crumbles are going to stick. Maybe I should clean the stencil. Oh, let's try brushing off the crumbs. I think I should wipe from the table. Let's try cleaning the stencil. Crazier things are bound to work, right? It's a crazy idea, but we'll try it. Hey, oh, look how well it cleans, though. I'm telling you, these little oil pastels are getting some marks, some good marks in my book. I'll just show you what I'm doing here. I'm just cleaning this. It's nothing exciting, but it's better than looking at an uneventful black mat, I suppose. I'm hoping that maybe if I clean the stencil and I use a blending stump, we'll get a nice edge and I won't have any weird crumbs. It might work, it might not. I'm drawing them on my pants. Not recommended, but I have jeans on and they're dark, so I don't think we'll see the pastel anyway. So if you guys have any interesting new finds that you're excited to try, but you haven't quite been brave enough to yet, maybe you bought something that's just sitting collecting dust on your desk, let me know what you have. Let me know what you bought, and you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Because I hope that you'll have some ideas after this. And also I'm curious to see what others have picked up. Let's see if I like that better. I'm wondering, let's take the other end of that. Maybe blend it in a little bit. Give it like a hazy, give it a smoky glow. Give it a smoky brow here. I'm still not 100% sure that I like that I put the black frames on this. So I'm just being completely honest with you. Every time my phone buzzes, I'm just imagining it's Karen or Angela saying, "Move your sketchbook back into frame." I don't know if that's what it is, but I know they got my back. Like, Lindsay, oh my word. Now that's what happens when you hit a crumb by mistake. That's all right. It's cringy. Actually, I love projects like this where you're not like really worried about the outcome. It's just kind of like, I had no plans, so I'm not going to be disappointed. Grunge it in a little bit. You can do this with your fingers too, I think. Or a Q-tip. The Q-tip might shed a little bit, but just don't use too much water. Because if the water goes under the stencil, then it will get all smudgy and it could leave little like puddles under the stencil and not look great. You use a little more water when you go to um, bring it. I don't know if I killed the paper or that's the blending stump. I've been pretty rough with these blending stumps. I want to thank everybody in the community that's been helping fellow watchers with questions. That's really nice. I appreciate that. Oops, now see right there. My I got too much water on there. See, can you see that little puddle there? Where I'm pointing. See if I push my brush, you can see it kind of move. That's what you don't want to happen. I think I got much more heavy-handed, or my pastel got more blunt as we got over to these guys. Let's see. I think I might be able to block that off though. There we go. It's very forgiving though. That blotted off really easily. Dry off my stencil. I like to pull some of the grunge inward a little bit. There. Then it's obvious that I'm not trying to be pristine. I know I like those frames. I think I'm gonna try this. I was used a really skinny scratcher. But if I use the thicker scratcher, I get a wider line. And as if I'm using the wider needle, like these come in a 2-pack at the Dollar Tree, now $1.25. But I originally did these, and that just left little lines. When I do this one, it actually kind of almost chips off more. So if you want a grungier look, go for the thicker. And if you want a smoother look, go for the thinner. It's probably going to be pretty easy to overdo it, but man, it's such a fun technique. All right, what do we have going over here? This is nice and dry. What should we do with this? What should we do? Let's see, 137. Wow. Um, oh my gosh. The only thing I don't like about this is how messy the technique with the gesso is because I am getting little flakes of gesso or paint everywhere. I've given up trying to dust it over the trash. I've just been like brushing it off with a sketchbook. I don't feel like I've used any product today to be able to like really get further with the review on anything. Hmm. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna take some questions. You can let me know what you think I should do with either of these for next steps. Oh, you know what? That was a crumb. That was a crumb of gray, and it smushed onto that side. That's what that was. The little thing there. I was like, oh, I thought that was maybe something seeping through, but it's that crumb of gray that got pushed on there. All right, so I'm going to take questions. Let me know what you think I should do to either of these while I am doing that, and maybe I'll do it. Okay. Clark Fine Art. That's Angela asks, Lindsay, after the pastel has been wet, dissolved, and then dry, do you find they still activate after with water, or do they set once they're dry? Oh, well, once we've used it and activated it, and let's see. Uh, let's see. Well, these don't feel oily anymore. Like those ones that I applied thickly and then I very lightly brushed over with the water. But they're still kind of thick, so I'm assuming we'd be able to further smoosh them. But you know what? Look at that. That teal is not budging. Oh, maybe these are almost like a little bit like ink tints in that fashion. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought to try that, but they do seem like they do set on the paper. And I'm sure it'll probably depend on what kind of paper you're using, but this is a watercolor paper, and it's probably what you'd be using these on. Interesting. Yeah, they seem like they want to set. I wonder if these have any light fast ratings. Let me look at one of the labels here. Nothing there. Let me look on the box. Huh. It looks like they just copied and pasted some of their oil pastel stuff on here because it says add water to create vibrant effects. Use on canvas and apply oil mediums or terps with a brush to create glazes. Blend colors with a brush. Well, I mean, obviously, it does have wax content, so it would dilute with oil products too. So I guess that's not fair of me to say that. I don't see any light fast information. It does have the non-toxic ASTM 4236 rating non-toxic. That has nothing to do with light fast. When you see that on there, it just means it's been tested that it is safe to bear the non-toxic seal, the AP non-toxic seal. Sometimes I see that and it'll say it's been ASTM tested for light fast, so it's light fast. And no, that's not what that means. That just is safety only. The light fast testing is much more in depth and pricey for companies to do. But yeah, there's really no other information. It says signature. So maybe somebody who's familiar with the Montmart line of products would know if signature means it's their professional range. Montmart white labels a lot of products. So uh yeah, I kind of even if it had light fast ratings, I'm not necessarily sure I would trust them. But for playing around, I think they're great. They kind of like give me that temper paint stick. That's what they remind me of. They remind me of temper sticks. Should we get the temper sticks out and compare? Should we? Okay, let me do a couple questions. You can let me know, but that's what they remind me of. Is the temper sticks 'cause they kind of dry. Did I just find the biggest bargain of the year where we're getting 48 colors for $16 because I spent $50, 50 something dollars on 60 temper sticks? And there's no plastic casing we have to worry about. Did I find the deal of it's a century? Sandbird asks, could you do a live painting with pastel sometimes? I had a weak moment and bought the new colors when they were on sale. Sam, you and me both. You and me both. Yeah, I could do that. I that would be fun. Um, Suzanne Bove said, "Can you paint a watercolor painting on top of the stamp piece?" I think I could. Maybe we'll do something like that. That's a good idea. Watercolor dog says, "I have to do my Italian homework now. So nice to see you live, Lindsay." Cow tutti da Bologna. I can't. I have like there are a couple. I learn things pretty quickly, but some things, foreign languages and driving, those things have such. I can drive. I have a driving license, but those things, foreign languages and driving, very difficult for me to learn. I have no idea what the block was. Let's see. I'm still looking for questions. Karen, question: will you please move your art back into frame? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna do one of these lives in the evening one of these times, and Karen's gonna come over and moderate for me. So she can tell me the questions and make sure my art's in frame. I'm not just throwing her under the bus either. She offered. I just haven't done an evening live. Yeah. Uh Joe Maskey says, I love that you're trying literally everything and not worrying about destroying a page potentially. Practicing what you preach. Oh, thank you. It's only a piece of paper. You really don't have to worry too much about it. There's 22 more in that pad. So, and I can use the backside if I want to. Not a huge risk. Anne asked a question about sizing. Will a new Arches watercolor journal last very long as far as the sizing goes? That's really going to depend on your location. If you're living in a tropical climate, I would give it I would say you would have a good 2 years. If you're living in a very arid climate, it would probably be fine indefinitely. It's and it's also how you store it. If you're keeping it I have to be careful with paper I store in my basement. My studio's in my basement, but my most expensive papers, my full sheet papers, I keep upstairs because I know I can't use them up in the amount of time that like, I know that's gonna shorten their lifespan if they're down here. Pads, sketchbooks, I'm not as fussy about it because I go through them fairly quickly and they're always just riding around the back of my vehicle. They get left outside sometimes. I do not have perfect sketchbook hygiene, so I don't worry about it too much. But if you had an artist journal and you brought it in from your car every time you got back from plein air painting and you stored it in a fairly stable humidity, it should last you a few years without too much worry. Um, it's moisture. Moisture is what does it. Clark, Angela's wondering the size of this sketchbook. Let me grab a ruler real quick. I know my thing has grids on it, but it's got too many grids. Let's see. It is 7.5. The sketchbook itself is 7.5 by 5, almost 5.5. The actual like kind of portfolio that it's in is 8 3/4 by 5.5. There's two sizes though. There's one smaller. This little sucker is so cute. I love that little palette, and I love that the paint is decent. I was worried about that. Um, it's very nice paint. All right. I kinda like the let me see if any other ideas came in, but I kinda like the idea of doing a watercolor painting over that background. Oh, we have new people coming in. Oh, this is wonderful. Whoops, shoot, I hit a button. Okay. Let's do that. Let's see what can I paint from memory? What can I paint from memory on this? Let's just do a floral motif because I feel pretty confident in that. We'll give these little watercolors a try. And I wouldn't pass judgment on any of these products first time I'm using them here just because it's not really fair. It's not really fair to do that. I am going to go back to the watercolor brush. It's just a number 10 round. And I'm just going to do some generic roses because I don't have to think about that too much. So I want to go this way. Yeah, maybe. I'll go this way. Okay. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Feeling fancy with my little remote control there. All right. So let's start with a little bit of that nice cool red. Um, let's start our flower over here. I'm gonna start with some little small marks just to get those tiny folded petals, kind of painting the shadows in between the petals. A good way to practice this type of painting is if you have any fabric, like a tablecloth or bedspread or towels that have a floral print on it, that's a really great uh, I wanna say reference to go by because they're usually like an offset kind of separated screen printing, or I guess would it be screen printing? I'm not sure, maybe even a block print, but it kind of breaks things down nice and easy. I'm gonna mix a little yellow ochre, I think, my palette. I'm gonna mix it in with the red. Add a fair bit of water. I gotta have it fairly dark just because we're on such a bold background. I'm gonna make my shadow chunks. Oh, and look at that. So we can't add too much water if we are going over that oil pastel background or it wants to do a resist. So let's do a little bit thicker of the yellow ochre and see if we can get that to stick. It's sticking a little bit better with it thicker, but it's definitely wanting to form a resist if we're using it in a thinner wash. And it is kind of difficult to to paint this where we have all that kind of background noise. I think it's kind of pretty, just kind of like coming up through the ether. I like that. Let's get some little leaves in there. What did we have for a green? I think we had like that turquoise color. Oh, we have our palette. using that plastic thing like a peasant. We got this fancy thing over here we can use. I have not even wiped it down. I'm hoping it doesn't have any weird factory grease on it. So yeah, I thought I was gonna be I saw this palette on Amazon, I'm like, that is so cute. I'm like, oh, I could probably make something like that. I can make it bigger and I can make it better. No, friends, I can't apparently make it bigger or better. I made it bigger and well, worse. It broke apart. I mean, yeah, I should probably go back and try it, but I'm like thinking for $15, I think it was on sale for like 14.50 when I looked today after I spent 15 or $16 on, I think it was 15.99. Yeah, might as well just buy it already done. Sometimes like, I'll see something and somebody will say, "You could make that." And I'm like, "But somebody already did. Look." It was at the botanical garden. I don't know who said that to me. "You could make that." It was like these beautiful ceramic fish, on these iron poles, and they were stuck in the gardens, and so it looked like fish swimming through schools of fish swimming through the plants. And I'm like, "That's some high level pottery there. That's not the crap that I make." I've maybe perfected a medium-sized bowl. My contribution to pottery. Um, but my sister really liked them, so I thought that would be a really cool Christmas present or birthday present. And then I found the artist. They actually sell them on their website, but the artist also they link to the artist's website as well. Let's do just a couple little leaves. I think I'm going to end up going over this with the oil pastels too, because these are very transparent watercolors, which I love. I want my watercolors transparent, but it's just giving this kind of like anemic ghosty effect on top of this pattern. Let's do let's see, this does have a I'm still using my mixed media brushes except for that mimic. Let's try that brown. That brown is kind of like an English red, I would say. I'm gonna add a little ultramarine blue to it, darken it a bit. Ooh, maybe that's not ultramarine blue. That almost makes well, I guess it could be. That just makes almost a red color. I'm gonna give it a stem. These are my generic flowers, so we could have a few rosebuds, or wouldn't be the generic rose that we come to expect here. I think I should have a smaller brush though. These paints are getting kind of mushy, so I would not recommend pre-activating them. They activate just fine, and I think they might stay wet a little too long if you're smushing them. I mean, if you're pre-wetting them. And you may not like uh there being a Prussian blue and a turquoise rather than like having a sap green. But look, the if you mix the that turquoise blue with some yellow and some yellow ochre, maybe even a little touch of red, you'll get a nice earthy kind of sap green color. So I think it's a nice like colors, a nice palette as far as mixing, but just to give you a heads up there. Feel like maybe I should do that same flower over there on the white paper just so you see what I'm doing because it's getting so lost there. Why don't we do that real quick? That will only take me a second. Um, so I'm just gonna repaint this flower over here just so you kind of see you can see what I did. I started off with a pretty concentrated amount of the cool red and just kind of imagine painting the shadows in the center of the flower between the um the petals. So it's like it's negative painting in the fact that you're kind of just painting the shadows. And then I added some yellow ochre and painted some larger kind of shadow shapes going into petal shapes. Sometimes I'll actually kind of touch those shapes into those more concentrated colors and let the colors kind of wick out. But I just keep it pretty loose. I mean, like I might go in there and just kind of touch the colors a bit and let them flow. And sometimes if I feel things are too pale, I'll grab that darker color and I'll just touch it in and let it flow a bit. And then I went to a flat brush. I need to mix up some more green though. I'll do it over here. I like this little palette though. It's awfully cute. It's kind of like that rose one that I have that I should use more. And then I just did some kind of like simple heart-shaped leaves, kind of. And then I use a little liner brush. Actually, I'll just use this round one. This one's got a good point. And I mixed up some brown-ish color. Put some stems. I put some rosebuds over there, but I think I'll do them over here just because it will look a little bit nicer. And the rosebuds were just kind of like just little dabs. I just loaded up my brush. I wanted like a stronger color. So I dipped it in the turquoise, the yellow ochre and the turquoise. That's probably a little too bold, actually, a little too dark. Put the little sepals on there, put the little hip. I mean, take your time with it, obviously, but just kind of give you the idea of what I was doing over there. Okay, so now let's take some, let's hit that real quick with the dryer. And I will add some oil pastel. I'll take a real quick look for questions. Does the palette have half pans that can be removed, or are the colors directly poured into the palette? They are directly poured into the palette. It looks like it almost looks like a 3D printed palette. The palette is linked in the video description. It's by Paul Rubens. All right, I think I've caught up. I think it was just a couple questions there. But again, if I missed your question, you can go ahead and put it back in. All right, so let's see what we can do using these pastels thickly on top of this, because that's kind of fun. There's some really beautiful greens in this set. Maybe I will zoom out. Well, actually, I don't think I need to. It's pretty cool. We can see what's going on. We'll scooch it over. I always run. I have a huge table. It's like 6 feet long. It's a door. It's a hollow core Luan door, and yet I still run out of space. So I think this peach might be a good lightest color for our rose. We still have a lot of background to break to for the color to break out on, so I don't know how well it's going to work, but you don't know until you try. That's life, right? Let's try this nice crimson color. This is called Crimson. Ha! Good naming. Montmartre. Is it Montmartre? Montmartre or Montmartre? I've heard it pronounced both ways. Ooh, that's a beautiful color. I love that red. That's a pretty red. I should have grabbed a reference photo, but oh my gosh, I saw the funniest meme. And it said, drawing's crazy. You think you know it. You think you know what things look like, but 10 minutes later, you're Googling, "What does a bird look like?" Like, oh, so true. Ooh, they blend nicely. I know this is not a really great, representation of a rose here, but I'm having fun here. I'm really having fun. It's not a great rose. I kinda feel like I want some more bigger petals on the outside. What about yellow? This beautiful Naples yellow. Naples yellow is such a pretty color. Oh, and this one seems like it's pretty opaque. It actually looks kinda lemon next to these more muted tones I have on the paper already. I think we're lacking in pinks a little bit. However, it might not be the worst thing in the world because pinks tend to be less light fast, so them leaving those out would leave out the opportunity for you making less light fast art if that's a concern. Go back to that red. That red's really nice, but I need to get some of my definition back because it has flown the coop. Try to put some petals in there. I know it's getting outliney. It's getting abstract. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Probably not, but we're gonna have a good time. Let's play with some leaf colors. Then again, I can always go back in and blend these things, so I don't need to be too fussy. Now, one thing you might want to think about when you're using these, if you're using them in a sketchbook, is that if you're having it thick, and say you have it thick and you close your page this way, and then you draw on this page or another page that's be like on this side of the book, you could end up kind of like doing a scratch art technique, but in reverse and actually transferring the lines that you draw onto the facing paper. So it's just something to think about if that's if you're doing that in a sketchbook. But if you're going to be adding water, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. But I even run into that sometimes with colored pencil, so it's not just an oil pastel thing, but it definitely is an oil pastel thing. This is a good example of why references are important. Because how many of us have a really good memory of what things look like enough to draw it beyond the Pictionary level? I don't. I think I want to have um a nice spray of leaves here. So the oil pastel is sticking great on top of the background with the diluted oil pastel. It's having no adhesion problems whatsoever. Actually, I bet this would be because it's not like it doesn't feel oily. You could probably even use this to tone paper to do a soft pastel on. As for wear, you can kind of see how the pastel's wearing down. Not a terrible, not a ton, but it is that you are definitely wearing the sticks down. It wears down more than say a watercolor crayon would, like a Neocolor 2. But you also are getting more media on the paper at once, and they're way cheaper. So just these are softer than the eye crayon if you have the eye crayons. I would say these are in between the Portfolio by Crayola oil pastels and the eye crayons if you have those products and you're curious. And I would say if you have both of them, unless you want to expand the range that the portfolios offer, you probably don't need these. But the portfolios only come in 24 colors. And I do like the variety. I don't feel like there's any colors that are really samey here. And sometimes with big sets, you get some very samey colors. especially in pastels. So that's kind of a nice thing. These remind me a lot of temper sticks, honestly. We'll have to see um how they feel after they've set for a bit. Let me brush off the crumbs. Oh yeah, look, this page is coming right out. This is definitely not a sketchbook. I don't know if it's labeled as a sketchbook or is it just as a watercolor pad, but yeah, this is definitely gonna it's already starting to come out of the book. Okay. So I'm gonna say they're more smushy than a temper stick. We were talking about um testing that. Oh, look at this. Because we had that look how good that scratches out though. I think probably because of the oh, I'm sorry. Look at you can't look at that as it's not on the screen. Oh, that's really cool though. Oh, if I knew like how cool the scratching would be, I would have got some pottery tools in here. And of course, you'll have different levels of scratching. If there's a lot of oil pastel underneath, it's scratching off more. And if there's less, it's not. Let's try um let's try finding our edges with a colored pencil and see if the colored pencil will stick over that little bit of uh I'm finding that the colored pencil doesn't really want to bond with the oil pastel, but we could kind of use it as a blending tool to push it out. But it's not the color pencil is not bonding with it quite as well as it would if it was an oil based, like a not a water soluble, it seems like. Because I use colored pencils with my um oil pastels all the time, and I'm not feeling like these are as compatible. These just kind of want to slide over them. But you can refine an edge with it. What about a watercolor pencil? Let's try that. I've got a few. Can I grab a green one? They're kind of tucked in this shelf here. I think I can get one. There we go. It's not the right green. It's a very weird green. This is a graphitin pencil. All right, we got two. We got two we can try. This is a graphitin. Oh, okay. The graphitin is working. I feel a little bit better than a regular color pencil. It works. That's graphite. And this one, which is the wrong green. I feel like that one's just kind of scraping it up. That's weird. If only I could have every product I owned out at once. Let me give this a quick sharpen. This is called tobacco, which is kind of like a brownish green. Now that's just scraping it up. I think it's because it's really soft, and this graphitin is a little bit firmer, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I think it might be just one of those things that you experiment with. You see, I'm gonna dip this in the graphitin in some water and see what it has to say for itself. Yeah, I don't think those are the most compatible things. But all in all, uh, it's kind of fun. Let's one more thing I want to try with this, and then I do want to grab my temper sticks out real quick and yeah, these are definitely not as dry as a temper stick. I'm just curious about oh yeah, that watercolor doesn't really want to stick on top of that. Although if you work it a little bit, it will blend in. It almost feels like you're using acrylic at this point. What about some Payne's Gray? I know, I'm just like, what about? It's like it's a good whataboutism, right? You always hear about what aboutism being like a used as negatively, but this is where your what ifs are good. Oh, this is just what I needed, guys. Thank you for indulging me and for watching and for hanging out and asking questions and all of that. Ooh, I really like the Payne's Gray here. So if you're using your paint, and it's not even like it's not even a paste consistency. It's like maybe a whole milk consistency. I love that palette. It's just perfect size to pick up and just to have room for on your desk. Um, yeah, that will. I don't know if it's necessarily that it sticks on top, but it will it'll like meld with it anyway. You know when you dream, like you can't really remember the details? And I think it's because our brains don't like hold all that detailed information in our brain just has kind of like shortcut keys to things, and then we have to look it up if we need like more detailed information maybe. And so this is probably like a flower that I would see in a dream instead of a flower that would be in real life. But our brains know that we mean that's a flower, so we don't need to recall more detail. I don't know. I'm not mad at that. I think that's kind of fun. That did not exist. That is something that did not exist 2 hours ago. It's something that I didn't, it wasn't even a twinkle in my eye 2 hours ago. And now it's something. I like to hit the edges with red of roses because um, they always have that little bit of a trace of the color of the petal. Have you ever noticed that? I love rose. I love rose bush roses and beach roses. They just feel like summer. We always had rose bushes growing up. You could never get them to grow here. Our soil is too, I was gonna say it's too salty. It's too sandy, I think, or not sandy, clayey. It's too much clay. Well, hey, thanks for the idea to paint on top of this. That was fun. Okay, I do want to try the temper sticks though, because I know temper sticks are hot right now. People are excited about them. They're really fun. They're kind of pricey, so let's see how they stack up. And this is what I have. It is the Quick Stick brand, and I recommend them. I like them quite a bit, but I do think they're expensive. And there's also a lot of plastic packaging on them, which let's face it, it's kind of a bummer, right? It's kind of a bummer. So let's grab a couple colors. Let's grab this olive green looking color. Man, that was dusty. That's all sitting on my floor, and I got cat hair dust all over me. So this is what a temper stick looks like. You can blend it right immediately. And this is oil pastel. It does feel drier, a little less slippery. All right, we'll come back to these. We'll come back to them, and I'll just do temper sticks on the side and oil pastels on this side, and we'll just come back to them and just see how much they re-wet after we've swatched a few out. I just think that would be kind of a fair. And I'm not saying one's good, one's bad. Absolutely not. I'm just saying sometimes we have stuff in our stash that is so similar to something else. We really don't need to buy the other thing, as long as like the quality that we need can be can be done with what we have. That's pretty color. That's a pretty rose. And the temper sticks will stick on top of the oil pastels. That's good to know. You gotta make sure you snap these tight too, because I think they could dry out kind of like a glue stick does. That looks like this color here, which I'm just gonna wipe it off because it's got a little grungy. Yeah, these I'd say the oil pastels feel less silky. Like the temper sticks feel a little bit more silky and slippery. Let's see what's another color. We could try yellow. Blending out the clean fingers. For blending with your fingers, the temper sticks are easier to blend. See, that looks pretty close. And the temper sticks are not as crumbly, although these here that I've been swatching here, well, this yellow is a little crumbly, but I think it's because I haven't used that yellow yet. And it does seem like they get less crumbly with use. Okay, there's 3 colors. Maybe we'll do a blue. Let's do a blue just to be a little bit more fair. You have to blend the temper sticks right after you put them down, or they do dry too much. Just remember the ones on the left are the temper sticks. Okay, temper sticks feel a little bit silkier and a little bit easier to blend. So I'm going to give that a real quick dry. Actually, you know what? Let's just let the air dry, and I will take some questions if there's any, and then we'll just brush some water over it with how different they are, so you can see if it's something you even want to add to your stash, or you'll know if I just figure the more information, the better. Um, I might not have any questions. Oh, maybe make sure when you're buying the oil pastels, because sometimes they'll put the regular ones and the water soluble ones in the same listing. So you just want to make sure that it says water soluble. And because I was thinking, oh, I saw something that had a tin instead of the cardboard, and I thought, oh, I want that. But the ones in the tin were not water soluble. So just keep in mind to make sure you get what you want to get. Oh, Joe's asking, could the paper be part of that? I've seen the colored pencil work you do on the sanded pastel matte border pastel matte. You know what? That's a really excellent point. That's probably a good part of it because this is hot press paper, and when I'm usually using colored pencil over oil pastels, I'm working on a textured or sanded surface. So, Joe, I think that's probably why. Yep, you're smart. I'm glad you're watching. Antonia King asks, how do these pastels compare to Mungio? Um, I would say I would say firmness are about the same. Now, these are water soluble, and the Mungios I have, oh, but I also have Mungio water soluble. I have the pearlescent ones, and I have the Primo Marketing, which are also made by Mungio. I think they're softer. I think the Mungio is softer. I could run and grab them. They're in the other room. I could do that. Let me, you know what? I'm gonna go run and grab that. So just replay watchers, you're gonna want to skip ahead 30 seconds. I think I can time me, guys. See how long it takes me to go to the room of Ford and get those pastels. Okay. And I found other treasures too that are very similar to this product. So did I need to buy these? Absolutely not. I've also got these. My friend Michelle picked these up for me when she was in Japan, and I'm not sure if she might be in the chat actually. Um, but these are called pasta pens, and they are very similar. No, actually, these are silkier. These are silkier than the ones we use. So that's what these are. These are expensive to buy them in America. I hope they were not that expensive in Japan. But those feel very similar, but more silky, definitely less crumbly, more silky. That's what they look like. Um, then Mungio oil pastels. These are the pearlescent ones, the actual ones branded by Mungio, which are cheaper. These are much softer and creamier. Why didn't I grab the, and they blend out more. Why didn't I grab the Crayola as well as in there? Oh my word. These are the ones by Prima, but they're made by Mungio. Now these feel a little stiffer. It could be their age. These are still harder. These are still stiffer. So the Mungios are softer, and a little easier to blend. So, but they would go together. They would work together. Let's just take one of these and just see. Yeah, these will stick right on top of those. These Mungio Primo ones will stick right on top of the ones from Montmartre. The Montmartre ones are harder and drier. But that's kind of nice to have a variety like that because then you can layer up and you can go over them. Ooh, let me try one of these pasta pens. Maybe I'll try. Oh, you know what would be pretty? Let's try some of this teal. Might be a little dark though. Let's see, will that layer over? I'm gonna try doing that little red. Oh, try this peach. Hmm. Now these actually might be a little bit firmer. They're silky, but I'm wondering if they're maybe a little bit firmer because and they're a little bit more sheer. I think maybe because they're probably meant for more stationary use. What was the other? Oh, the other thing I found. Mind, I was just doing a very quick little jaunt over to the room before. I found these Jane Davenport color sticks. These are no longer available. The factory that made them burnt down, but I had two sets. This was probably the brand new one. Oh yeah, these layer up really nice on top of that. Oh, very similar though. A little silkier to blend out, to be honest. Yeah, they're a little silkier. They feel kind of like more like the temper sticks, but I don't think they dry. Like they don't dry out like you can't re-wet them. So let's just try adding water over these now that we've given them a good amount of time. I'm just going to use a Taklon flat, and temper sticks are on the left. So actually, wow, that temper stick still will reactivate. Gosh, about the same. Let's do the one that's not blended out. The oil pastel. Wow, those are actually very similar. Let's try the olive green one that's been blended out. That's a temper stick, a little bit of reactivation. About the same with the oil pastel. Well, these Montmartre oil pastels. Let's try the one that hasn't been blended out. Well, let's try it with. Well, you can almost scrub the oil pastel off the paper, whereas the temper stick, I don't think you can scrub all of that off the paper. So the Montmartre is a little bit more soluble, it seems like, but not different enough. I think that you need both unless you want those formats. I'm really surprised at how those temper sticks are reactivating. Maybe it's because it's watercolor paper. Oil pastel here. That's so weird because I'd never really, maybe because probably because I'm going over them a little rougher than you typically would. So the oil pastels reactivate more fully, but I'm still getting the colors to reactivate and to bleed out on the temper sticks. Interesting. So, different but similar, right? Different but similar. Well, this was fun. Is there anything else we need to do before oh my gosh, it's been over 2 hours. It's fun though. We're having a good time. I'm just gonna take one more scan for questions. We'll take another look. I'm just gonna pull this one out because I wanna there we go. Show our 2 more finished pieces there. Um, I love the whatabouts here. Yeah, these are good we've got good whatabouts because 'cause we're curious. We got curious minds that just want fun, happy art stuff, nice colors and stuff. Burley Strass, does Lindsay have a Discord? I do not have Discord. Um, I do have an Instagram where I post my artwork. Oh, there's a wandering star. Wandering star sent me those pens. Yes, they are less messy. They're definitely, I think if you want to do more dainty like details rather than I think if I was using them kind of like this, I would use them up really quickly. But if you just wanted to do some like some little accents, like if I wanted to highlight around, see how do we crank it from the bottom. If you wanted to say highlight around like that stamp. Look how easy we could go in and just go around this area and shade it. Because we got square edges, it has really nice detail. I'm gonna add some orange in there actually. And it does blend out really nice for just like a soft rouging effect. It would be a little bit harder with a thicker stick. The thicker the stick, the harder that would be. So yeah, definitely good for those little details. I keep all my water soluble products together in a drawer so that I have them all when I'm looking for them. Oh, you guys are all so awesome. Marianne C says, "What prevents the tempera paint sticks from drying out before use?" They've got like a cap on them. They're kind of like a glue stick. But if you ever have a glue stick and they can dry out eventually. But I'm thinking that also they probably self-seal a little bit. I would imagine. They probably wouldn't last indefinitely like this, but they do have a pretty tight fitting cap. And also, the reason I usually don't keep things in their original packaging because I find better ways to store them. But with these, I keep them in it because this is such a rigid, like nice case this set comes in. It's like a really thick plastic. And if the cap's not on right, it won't fit in. So I know that I don't have a cap snapped on right if I go to put these back and they won't fit in the slot. So that's why I keep these in their original packaging. So just something to keep in mind if you do buy a set of these and it doesn't have a packaging like this, just make sure that you really snap that cap on. But I mean, who knows? It might last just fine. I might just I might be too fussy about it. Oh, thank you, Joe. Says I learned everything I know from you and your close colleagues. Oh yeah, how do these compare to the Mungio? We just compared them. Yeah, just a little bit firmer than Mungio, but very water soluble. Mungios will layer good on top of them. What are the pen-like crayons? Those are called pasta, and they're from Japan. They are they're actually refillable. They're almost like they remind me of like a highlighter or something. They crank up like this. They're a very narrow, almost like if you think of those erasers that crank up, just like a narrow kind of translucent water soluble wax product. Japan has the coolest stationery, but these are more sheer too. So if you just wanted to add a veil of color over something, these would be a good option for that. I'm keeping them in here because I know the lid's going to keep them. It's going to just also make sure the lids don't get loose or anything, but they do snap on satisfyingly. So I don't think it'd be that big of a problem, especially since they sell refills. They must be pretty robust. All right. Well, I think I have caught up. And I think this is all I'm going to do to these pages. It was a lot of fun to hang out with everyone today. Thanks for the super chats, folks. It's never expected, always appreciated, but never required. Never feel like you have to do that. But that was very kind and very awesome. I hope you give some of these products a try. Better yet, I hope you dig through your stash and you find some treasures that you've forgotten about. Maybe you have some of these other water soluble products and you're like, oh man, I bet they're like my Crayola or they're like this or that. Well, the only way you're going to find out if they are is if you dig them out and you start playing with them. And even if they don't give you the exact same effects that we got here today, they'll give you different effects. And again, the only way you're going to know what they're going to do is by playing with them. So mix your media, have fun, and get creative. And as always, thanks for watching. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.